everyone, Paula Empty Nester Creations here. Welcome to my channel, and if you're returning, welcome back. So today I'm going to use this styrofoam cone that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. I'm also going to use this burlap ribbon, 9 foot long. It's not wired, but because it's burlap, it's really stiff. Again, all from the Dollar Tree. I literally cut the ribbon in half and then cut the strips about 4 inches to 4¼ inches in length. In total, I used, and of course my glue gun, in total I used, I believe it's like a ribbon and a half, or I'm sorry, a roll and a half of the ribbon. So today we are going to make a ribbon tree, and I did not come up with this idea. The first time that I ever saw it was recently on a channel called Cat's Creations 777. She's a wreath maker out of California, and yeah, that's where I got the idea. So anyways, you take the ribbon that you cut, you fold it in half, you glue it together, and then you glue it onto the styrofoam cone, and you continue that pattern going around, making one layer like a skirt, and then you do the next layer overlapping on the second layer, and you continue on to the very top. Now, when she made this, Cat's Creation 777, she actually used pins, and she also used a lot higher quality ribbon and bigger styrofoam cones. So if you're interested in making something larger, that's how she did it. This is how I'm going to do it. So you can see here, I'm just starting to form the first layer. I'm going to go all the way around on that same layer, and then once I'm done with that, then I will do the next layer, and so on and so on. So here I'm done with the first layer, and I just want to show you all how it looks. It sits on the table perfectly fine, even though the ribbon overlaps at the bottom a little bit. So now I'm just going to continue and do the next row. And for the next row and every row after, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the ribbon in between. So the bottom row in total took 10 pieces of the ribbon. And again, remember, I took I think it's a 2-inch ribbon burlap from the Dollar Tree, cut that in half, and then cut the pieces or the strips in 4-inch to 4¼ inch of length. So another thing I want to mention is if you have those little rubbery things for your hands, because you're using so much hot glue and the burlap is not that thick, definitely use it. I was fine. I did like play around with the glue a lot. It just bothers me to have a lot of the glue. But so here I want to show you, see how I overlapped it. So you have the 2 at the bottom, and I started with 1 in between those 2, and that's how I continue that row. And then the next row, I will do the same concept of starting my ribbon for that row in between 2 of the ribbons from the previous row. So anyways, back to the hot glue. Just be very careful, don't burn yourself. And I apologize if in the video you're gonna see me messing and cleaning up the glue a lot, because it just bothers me. Okay, so I'm done with the second row. As you can see, it looks pretty good. In the second row, I used 9 little ribbon strips. Um, I think in the first row, I actually used 11 ribbon strips. And I say that because if you cut the ribbon strips thinner or thicker, you're obviously going to use less. One thing that I didn't do ahead of time is I did cut a roll, or yeah, a roll of ribbon that I already had started. So I'm not sure exactly how much is was on that roll of ribbon. That's why I say that I used about 1.5 spools of this ribbon. Now, this ribbon's great, like I mentioned, because it's burlap, and even though it's not wired, it's stiff, so you can fluff the ribbons on the little tree so that it gives it a little bit more dimension. If you use a ribbon that doesn't have wire and it's not a burlap or a stiff ribbon, you're not going to get the same look. Not to say that it's not going to still be beautiful, it just won't be the same look that I was able to achieve with this ribbon. So, anyways, I'm going to continue to cut. I think that there's one more time that I have to cut a little bit more ribbon. Again, I didn't want to cut too much because I don't want to waste the ribbon. And if I cut it in half like this and then in little pieces, and again, I cut the ribbon in half and then I cut the strips to 4 inches to 4.25 inches. So it just depends. I really didn't measure. I just kind of, winged it. But I didn't want to waste it because, yeah, it's a nice little ribbon that you can use for other things as well. So, and like I said, it's burlap and it's really stiff, but not too stiff. So you can mold it to how you like it. So I'm just going to continue to cut here, and then I'm going to continue on with my tree, gluing the third row on. And as you go up the tree, obviously, excuse me, you will use less ribbon because the cone itself starts to become smaller in diameter. So once I'm officially done with all my rows, as you can see right here, once I stop playing with the glue strings, um, you see it really does look great. Now there are a few white spots that you can see, so you can do two things for that. I could have either painted the styrofoam cone green before I started, or I could have overlapped more of the ribbons, or you can do what I'm doing here, which is I'm just taking just little pieces of ribbon. So it's taking the ribbon that I had already cut, cutting it again in half, and then gluing it to the little bare spot pieces that I am seeing, just so that you don't have that bare spot. Again, you could have easily painted the cone green if you wanted to, or any color actually, depending on the ribbon you used. I say green because the ribbon that I'm using, not painted the ribbon, I'm sorry, painted the cone, not the ribbon. The ribbon I'm using is that hollyberry burlap roll ribbon that you can get from the Dollar Tree, and that's why I would have painted the styrofoam cone green, so that if you saw anything, all you were seeing was green, just like if it was a true Christmas tree. Anyways, so that's what I'm doing here is I am simply filling in some of those little gaps. Again, be very careful with the glue because your fingers obviously come to close proximity with all the hot glue. Um, I feel like sometimes my fingers have gotten used to the hot glue, so sometimes it affects me and sometimes it doesn't. For the most part, it's just annoying when they get stuck to my fingers and stuff. But anyways, to finish this off, I'm going to take some of the same ribbon that I have already cut, the half strips, and I'm just going to make a simple bow for the top. And I'm going to use some jute twine to tie the bow together, and then I'm actually going to make a little jute twine bow that sits on top of the little burlap ribbon bow. So stay tuned for the end. So here I'm just fluffing the ribbons out a little bit, and like I mentioned again, because it's a stiff burlap, even though it's not wired, it allows you to add that dimension by fluffing it. If you had a ribbon that wasn't wired, it would be a little bit more difficult to fluff it. I don't even know if you could fluff it, it would just lay there. But use what you can, use what you want. It may still turn out, I'm sure it will turn out very beautiful still. Okay, so for the top here, I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do for the top? Do I want to add something that I have in my little box stash behind me? And then I thought, you know what, let's just keep it simple. Let's keep it uniformed. Some people may say, it's just too much of the same ribbon, but you know what, I think it looks cute. So all I did here was I took the same ribbon, cut it in half as I did when I was doing the little strips. And then again, I didn't want to cut too much. And once I have it cut in half, I'm just going to cut the two pieces off, and that's how I'm just going to create my little ribbon. As I mentioned, I used I used jute twine to tie the ribbon together, or tie the bow together, I'm sorry. And at the end of it, instead of cutting all the excess of the jute twine, I decided to go ahead and do a jute twine bow that sits just on top of this bow that I'm making with the ribbon. Once I'm done making the bow, I simply hot glue it to the very top, and that's it. That is the end of the project. And here's the finished ribbon tree. I love how it turned out. It is just adorable, and the possibilities are just endless with these little trees. I mean, there's just so many ribbons that you can buy, both at the Dollar Tree at any craft store, and you can make so many different sizes of this little ribbon tree. So I hope you truly enjoyed this video. If you did, I hope you consider hitting that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope you hit that subscribe button. And if you hit the notification bell, YouTube will notify you every time I upload a video. Thank you so much, y'all.